My uncle Alex Eala, amazing, and I felt like a princess.
The lights inside the Palacio Municipal de Congresos in Madrid were still bright. The Laureus World Sports Awards, the Oscars of sport, were in full swing. And somewhere in that room, a 22-year-old from the Philippines was quietly making every other nominee irrelevant. The voting was done. The result was sealed. But nobody told Eala. She had arrived as a Breakthrough of the Year nominee, a 22-year-old who had climbed inside the world's top 140 in 2024, who had made waves at the biggest tournaments on the WTA calendar.
I'll wear what's called the Filipiniana, and it's a very traditional Filipino formal wear.
The establishment expected her to sit down, smile, and wait for her category to be called. She didn't sit down. Boris Becker, 3 Wimbledon titles, 0 tolerance for mediocrity, watched her command that room and fell into complete shock. He said she had owned the night. His words, not a spin. Back home, an entire nation watched it happen.
I speak from the heart. It's my opinion. If you don't like it, you can tell me.
And felt every second of it. If this is the kind of story your tennis feed has been missing, subscribe right now. You won't want to be late for what comes next, because Becker only said half of what he meant. To understand what Becker saw that night, you have to understand who Eala actually is. Not the headline version, not the social media clip version, the real version, because that is the only one that explains why a 3-time Wimbledon champion was left speechless by a 22-year-old who didn't even take home the award she was nominated for.
I've got to watch every Eala as well. She has made her debut here over the last couple of years, and she's won some matches here. Out of all the clay tournaments, this might be her best, her favorite as well.
Alexandra Eala was born on May 23, 2005 in Manila, Philippines. She didn't stumble into tennis. Her father, Michael Eala, was a tennis coach. The sport was in the household from the beginning. But the path she took from a Manila court to the Laureus stage in Madrid is not the kind of path that gets handed to anyone. It gets carved out, painfully, over the years. At 15, she became the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam junior title when she claimed the 2020 Australian Open Girls doubles crown alongside Priska Nugroho of Indonesia. That result alone would have been enough to put her name on the radar, but Eala wasn't interested in being on the radar. She wanted to be at the center of it. She went on to win the 2021 US Open Girls singles title, then the 2022 Roland Garros Girls singles title, back-to-back Grand Slam junior singles champion. 2 different surfaces, 2 different continents, the same result. At that point, the tennis world had stopped treating her as a prospect and started treating her as a timeline question, not if, but when.
Alex Eala advances to the Dubai WTA 1000 quarterfinals. Sheila Salaysay has that story.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on here and thank every single one of you for your support, taking the time and effort out of your day.
The transition to the professional tour is where most junior champions hit a wall. The jump is brutal. The depth on the WTA tour is unlike anything the junior circuit prepares you for. Players who are untouchable at 16 and 17 routinely spend years finding their footing among professionals who have been competing at the highest level since before those juniors picked up a racket. Eala did not spend years finding her footing. She found it fast. By 2024, she had broken into the WTA top 140 in the world rankings. A number that sounds modest until you consider that there are approximately 1.1 billion people on this planet who have picked up a tennis racket, and the top 140 represents the absolute ceiling of the sport at the professional level. She was competing at WTA 125 events and making noise at the main tour level with a game that had matured well beyond her age. Her playing style is the reason coaches and analysts talk about her differently from other young players. She plays from the baseline with a level of aggression that most players her age don't develop until their mid-20s. Her forehand is a genuine weapon. Flat, heavy, hit early off the bounce. She takes time away from her opponents before they've finished setting up. Her mental composure under pressure has been noted repeatedly by coaches, commentators, and opponents alike. She doesn't play like someone learning the tour. She plays like someone who has already decided she belongs there. That quality, that unshakable sense of belonging in rooms she hasn't technically earned the right to be in yet, is exactly what she brought to Madrid in April 2025. and it is exactly what undid Boris Becker in real time. Becker himself needs no introduction to anyone watching a tennis channel. But the specifics matter here. He won Wimbledon in 1985 at 17 years old, becoming the youngest men's singles champion in the tournament's history at the time. Eala won it again in 1986 and 1989. He won the US Open in 1989 and the Australian Open in 1991 and 1996. 6 Grand Slam singles titles in total. After his playing career, he moved into commentary, analysis, and coaching, most notably serving as Novak Djokovic's coach between 2013 and 2016, a period during which Djokovic won 6 Grand Slam titles. Becker knows what a champion looks like. He has been one, he has built one. His shock means something because his baseline for greatness is not the same as everyone else's. So when Becker watched Eala at the Laureus World Sports Awards and reached for the word owned, when a man with that career, that context, and that eye for talent went into shock at what he witnessed, it was not a throwaway compliment. It was a verdict from someone whose verdicts carry weight. The Laureus World Sports Awards were established in 2000 and have since become the most prestigious cross-sport celebration on the calendar. Past winners in the Breakthrough of the Year category include names like Caster Semenya, Ashton Eaton, and Michaela Shiffrin, athletes who went on to define their respective disciplines for years after receiving the award. The category exists specifically to identify the athlete most likely to dominate the next chapter of their sport. Being nominated is not a consolation, it is a statement about trajectory. Eala's nomination placed her alongside some of the most remarkable young performers across all of world sport in 2024. The fact that the votes went elsewhere is a matter of record. What is also a matter of record, documented across multiple credible sports media outlets in the days following the ceremony, is that her presence at the event generated a level of attention that the voting results simply did not reflect. Social media engagement around her appearance at the Laureus ceremony outpaced coverage of several of the night's actual winners. Tennis journalists who were present described her as the most magnetic presence in the room.
We're not concerned about anyone else right now. It's Alex Eala time. This is Alex Eala's moment. Our days, our dinners, our evenings are fixated on when she's playing. That's real tennis fandom right there. Love it.
This is so great for tennis in general.
Yeah.
I think having players like Alex out there, and she's so gracious to all her fans. She spends time with her fans, signs the autographs, takes the photos, and really just shows the Filipino community that it is all about the Philippines. And I still carry that flag with me no matter where I go across the world.
Becker was not alone in his reaction. He was simply the most prominent voice to say it out loud, and with the most unfiltered honesty. That combination, the credibility of the source and the directness of the statement, is what turned his reaction into a story in its own right. Now here's the part of this story that the mainstream tennis conversation has been reluctant to sit with. The question of whether the Breakthrough of the Year award went to the right athlete is, at this point, almost beside the point. Awards committees work from criteria, timelines, and voting structures that don't always capture what a room full of witnesses experiences in real time. That is not a scandal. It is the nature of formal recognition. But what it does mean is that there are two versions of what happened in Madrid that night. The official version, which lives in the record books, and the version that everyone who was present carries with them. Those two versions do not match, and Becker made sure the world knew it. For Filipino tennis fans specifically, the significance of what happened at the Laureus ceremony goes beyond sport. The Philippines has produced individual sporting champions across disciplines, Manny Pacquiao's dominance in boxing being the most globally recognized example. But in tennis at the elite professional level, the road has been long and largely unrewarded. Eala is not just a talented young player. She is the first Filipino woman to genuinely compete at the top of the professional tennis ecosystem in the modern era. Every match she plays, every tournament she enters, every room she walks into carries the weight of that fact. When she walked into the Palacio Municipal de Congresos in Madrid and produced the kind of presence that left Boris Becker in shock, that was not just a personal moment, it was a national one. Filipino fans watching from Manila, from Cebu, from every province in the archipelago and from every Filipino community scattered across the world, they felt it. They understood what it meant for someone who looks like her, who comes from where she comes from, to own the biggest night in global sport without winning a single vote. The tennis establishment has a long history of identifying talent early and then making that talent wait. Wait for the right moment, wait for the right result, wait for the gatekeepers to formally acknowledge what everyone already knows. Eala has shown very little interest in waiting. Her junior Grand Slam record, her accelerated climb up the WTA rankings, and now this, her ability to walk into the Oscars of sport as a nominee and walk out as the defining story of the evening, all of it points to someone who does not operate on anyone else's timeline. Becker's shock is a symptom of something larger. It is the reaction of someone who has spent decades inside a sport that moves at its own pace, rewards patience, and rarely produces someone who simply refuses to respect the cue. He has seen generational talents come through. He was one, he coached another. But what he saw in Eala, that specific, uncoachable quality of taking over a space without demanding it, that caught him off guard. And it caught him off guard precisely because it is so rare. The question the tennis world is now sitting with is a simple one. If she can do this at 22, nominated but not yet winning, still climbing the rankings, still developing her game, what happens when the results start matching the presence? What happens when the votes do go her way? What happens when the girl who owned the Oscars of sport without a trophy is standing on the stage holding one? That moment is coming. The trajectory is not ambiguous. The junior record, the professional development, the composure, the game, all of it points in one direction. The only variable is time. And based on everything she has shown so far, she is not planning to give time very much room to operate. Boris Becker saw all of that in Madrid, in a room, on a night when she didn't win. That is what put him in shock. Not just what she did that evening, but what it told him about what is coming. He only said half of what he meant because the other half is too large to fit inside a post-ceremony soundbite. The other half is a prediction, and it is the kind of prediction that the tennis world is going to spend the next decade watching come true. Eala didn't need the Laureus Trophy to make her statement. The room already knew, Becker already knew, and now, so do you. If this video gave you something the mainstream tennis channels aren't giving you, a real perspective, a real story, the version behind the version, then subscribe right now. Hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next, because Eala's story is nowhere near its final chapter, and this channel will be here for every single moment of it. Share this with one Filipino tennis fan who needs to see it, they'll thank you for it,